Okay, so I'm gonna say hello before I start yapping because I was raised right. So, hi, welcome to my channel. Please feel free to grab a snack. We have 100 calorie snack pack Oreo crackers. Do you remember those? They were basically this chocolate cracker with these white specks to imply frosting, but you never actually tasted that. They were the least satisfying thing I've probably ever eaten, and overall, just an empty promise of an afternoon snack. They were the food equivalent of sparkling water. And before the liqueur warriors jump me, y'all know that that is concepts of a strawberry kiwi. And I know you're typing out right now, well, if you weren't so addicted to soda, maybe you could appreciate the subtle flavors of a sparkling water. And I understand that this may be hard to believe, especially if you're any doctor or nutritionist that I've ever seen, but I don't drink soda. I don't like carbonation. So this isn't even coming from a place of bias in that way. I'm speaking from a pretty objective perspective when I say that flavored seltzer just tastes bad, and there's nothing positive about that experience for me. I'm going to go ahead and remain a member of the Southern Water Tribe and spice it up with some lemon if I'm feeling fancy. Anyway, diet food tastes bad, and that's kind of what this whole thing is about. Food specifically designed to lower caloric intake or replace other foods often tastes terrible. And for various reasons, I have a lot of food allergies, doctor recommendations for other issues, personal choices. I was a vegetarian for a really long time. I have become a food substitute connoisseur. For most of my life, I've drank fake milk. Ate fake meat, fake rice, fake pasta. And what many food scientists seem to understand about why we eat the food that we enjoy is we really like the shape and approximate color of them. And controversially, my favorite thing about rice is actually not it being small and white. If those are the only requirements that we were attempting to meet, I would much prefer Sabrina Carpenter tickets to perhaps cauliflower rice, which does not really meet that niche at all. Um, some of the process of repacking these foods into other foods, like foods like chickpeas, which are generally like really good, um, get turned into something terrible. And is this video mostly about the fact that I ate chickpea spaghetti for dinner the other day and it tasted like I was chewing a couch? Perhaps. Who can say? But let me set the scene. It was a couple hours ago. I was broke. I was waiting to get paid at the end of the week. And like most Black Americans, for me, being a little bit poor means spaghetti night. Anyway, I'm pulling my noodles out of my pantry and I see that I have the gluten free chickpea spaghetti. I've had issues with my stomach in the past in processing gluten, so I like to keep that open. I bought it about 2 months ago. I hadn't had a chance to try it yet, and I'm excited. So I'm cooking it. I like chickpeas. I like pasta. I know it's going to be good. I'm seasoning my sauce. I'm mixing my noodles and I bite into what I have to assume was some upholstery leather that somehow got mixed up in the packing process. I thought maybe it was stale. So even though it was an unopened box, I checked the expiration date and no, I've got a good year on it. So it just tastes like that. It was oddly floral and it tasted nothing like chickpeas. And I just had to eat it. So why am I talking about this at all? Well, mainly because I'm hungry and mad and I wanted to complain, but also because we're going to see an uptick in this kind of substitute diet food in the next few months and years. Diet culture never really left, but it's like Beyonce in that it's dropping a lot of hard hitting projects after it took a little time to go focus on its family. There is a rise in these openly unhealthy obsessions with thinness. And I'm going to lay out some thoughts that I have on that, as well as a brief history on how we got there. The answer is desirability politics. Why women, although this doesn't solely impact women, are so willing to go through things like this is, I think, best summed up by this quote that recently became popular by Slim Kim on TikTok. Skinny is my favorite thing to be, and the thing I fear not being the most. It is a new age version of Kate Upton's quote, which is Nothing tastes as good as skinny feels. And there is social capital in being thin. Even when another body type was getting a little attention for a couple years and some more acceptance in popular media, there was never a time in which being thin was socially unacceptable. So let's talk about dating. I'm going to start by saying that weight has never once stopped me from being loved and desired. If you're cute, regardless of the number on the scale. That being said, I cannot in good conscience say that it does not play a role in dating. Conversely, within dating, women with a higher BMI are more likely to experience intimate partner violence, and that looks like emotional, financial, sexual, and physical abuse. Weight is often leveraged as a reason for a partner to be insecure, and therefore a reason that one deserves the treatment that they're receiving from an abusive partner. There's the stereotype that because they're so insecure and expected to compensate for their lack of physical attractiveness, that bigger girls will pay for things.
Now, I'm not going to point any fingers because I'm not sure exactly who started that rumor that big girls take care of dudes, but I pray you never know peace. Like, I want you to wake up every morning, step out of bed, and step on the Lego. I'm dead serious, too. Like, why is it that every time I meet somebody, all of a sudden, they behind on bills and need a place to stay? Like, where were you staying before you met me?
After the Who the Fuck Did I Marry series, Charlemagne from The Breakfast Club made these disparaging and disgusting comments about Risa Tisa and other women over a certain size.
To be honest with you, man, I hear a lot of big back behavior. Does she have a big back?
She do give Sheila that was driving up the mountain.
Okay.
What's your thing with big back?
No, I'm just saying, because in a situation like this, some of you big backs, y'all got to stop being so thirsty for a man. Big back belief isn't like everybody else's belief. Okay.
It don't matter how big her back is.
No,
it don't.
No, it does, because this is big back behavior.
I know, a man, a man, a man, a man, a man. I promise I will stop talking about this in just a second. However, we need to acknowledge that even in sapphic fat people, we see an invalidation of sexual preference and a centering of men's desires. Blogger Amberlynn Reid's sexuality has been publicly lesbian for a very long time. Before she had a presence on the internet, she has been exclusively dating women. She's spoken in her past about dating men in high school, and even then, she still identified as bisexual, and that's not uncommon for young people trying to navigate their sexuality while still under the thumb of heteronormative expectations. Amberlynn Reid keeps a girlfriend, okay? And she is almost 600 pounds. So there is a lot of conversation about her sexuality and her sex life. And one of the comments that she receives on a semi regular basis is that she's pretending to be a lesbian and that if and when she loses enough weight, she'll start dating men again because they'll be interested in her, which is silly for a lot of reasons, but one in particular that I think is relevant here is that feeders, people who gain sexual pleasure from watching their partners eat large amounts of food and gain weight, sometimes to the point of disability and even death, exist in much larger quantities in heterosexual relationships. It also speaks to a bigger issue of fat women being just accepted to take whoever is available and not be able to choose their partners because fat people are inherently unlovable. Even the people that are attracted to larger women in particular have stated that they feel shame or embarrassment because they don't think other people would approve of their preferences. And since a lot of dating is about validation from peers, especially for men, weight bias does in fact play a role. However, desirability politics, like all other aspects of white supremacy, play a huge part in how people who fall outside that acceptable spectrum navigate the world outside of just being the preference or getting picked. Outside of dating, we see fat phobia impact people in a myriad of ways, including medically. Medical fat phobia literally kills people. There's no reason to mince words here. Healthcare providers ignoring serious issues, including cancer, because they cause weight loss is a grave issue. Additionally, weight bias impacts people in healthcare because those who are subjected to it get treated for their appearance and not their symptoms. That includes the encouragement of disordered eating behaviors because it results in severe weight loss. Purging and starvation are not healthy for anyone, regardless of your preference concerning their appearance. A common complaint in healthcare is that when heavier people go to see the doctor about medical issues, they're not taken seriously and just instructed to lose weight, and that will solve all of the other issues that they have. It is embarrassing and demeaning to have to ask your healthcare provider to consider what treatments that they will offer you if you were 30 pounds lighter. Unfortunately, it is necessary though, because waiting 6 months until you lose the weight, maybe to get treatment for a serious medical issue, can be the difference between getting better and permanent damage, if not death. The extremism and desire of thinness is terrifying, but it is right in line with the sociopolitical landscape that we're currently in. Because desirability is often tied to goodness and morality in the public consciousness, being fat is associated with negative traits like laziness, greed, sloppiness, and people act on that negative bias towards fat people on both an individual and societal level. People said that calling it out was just being sensitive and that it was fine, but so many of us tried to raise the flags when the big bag jokes hit the streets. We knew that it was nothing but an indicator that we were going down a one-way path to ED Twitter. There is a conscious othering of fat people, and it starts on the social level. The microaggressions in calling something big back behavior, building entire campaigns on unbigging your back. There is a clear divide between the people that you want to be like and the big backs who are avoided at all costs. Because morality and a desire for punishment for these self-imposed crimes are assigned to the sin of being fat, it's difficult to find stores that sell the items that we need. While I still wear straight sizes myself, anyone who wears bigger than a size XL is unlikely to find anything, if at all, that they can wear. Of the clothing that is available, a lot of it is shapeless, unflattering, or cut in a way that's meant to disguise the fat body and preserve modesty that nobody asked for. The language and marketing of plus size clothes focuses on words like slimming, flattening, smoothing, and it's further enforcing the idea that we should have shame surrounding our bodies. The clothes are rarely on trend and often inexplicably adorned with these cold shoulders, peplums, Disney characters, Snoopy, animal prints, florals, or muddy neutrals. And there are so many common traumas associated with growing up fat and trying to buy clothes. Back when going to the mall was the height of teenage socialization, fat teenagers all over the country had to deal with the traumatizing and embarrassing experience of going into stores with their smaller friends and knowing that no matter where they shopped, they could not spontaneously just pick out clothes that they could wear. At most, you could get a hat, some socks, and a lip gloss, and you just had to keep it pushing. You're really just there to mingle. And even with professional dressmakers and tailors, we saw fat girls get told that they didn't have bodies that could be fitted for dresses for special events like prom, weddings, graduations. And they're relegated to these matronly church skirts and skirt suits because they were just too difficult to make dresses for people over a certain size. Besides it being a necessity from a legal standpoint, clothing is an enormous part of self-expression. And being robbed of that opportunity to feel comfortable with how you present yourself to the world does so much damage to your self-image. There's a TikToker, Samira, who wears plus size clothing and became frustrated with this entire process. She did an experiment where she visited stores that advertised having inclusive sizing and verified whether or not she could actually buy clothes that fit her in store. Several of these stores had marketing campaigns surrounding inclusivity and their extensive size ranges for body equality. In reality, you'll see in the video, shortly after these announcements, the actual offerings were only available through online or if somebody had returned something from online and it was in the store. Many of the plus size sections didn't exist in the store at all or were actively being downsized and boxed up when she came to visit.
So this whole section behind me used to be the plus size section.
This is not plus.
So where did it go?
Pardon?
I thought the plus size section was right here. Where did they move it to?
Oh, they're removing plus sizes, but let me see. I think they're not going to have any more plus sizes.
Oh, they're removing the section?
Yeah.
Oh.
Oh, we don't have a plus size section anymore. I see. Thank you so much. Only online.
Okay. I was looking for size 26.
So the 26 is not gonna be in store.
Okay.
Those are gonna be.
Not only is Old Navy not cool, in 2021 they pulled one of the biggest scams in plus size history. Don't know about it? Come with me. Body equality. A dream, right? Well, in 2021, Old Navy made this dream a reality with their self-proclaimed fashion revolution. No wonder why Old Navy had photo booths, balloons, and streamers set up to mark this revolutionary moment. That day, my grandma and I had a shopping experience we thought we'd only ever dream of. But the dream quickly turned to a nightmare. Everything gone. Oh, it's okay. Thank you. So the body equality, gone. You still think Old Navy is cool? Get your big ass in the gym. Well, what do you want me to wear in the gym? Let's try Nike.
What do you want to just get into?
Typically for Nike, I wear like a 3X top and bottom.
Okay. The girls at the moment only have up to 1X, but I can double check for you in the back.
Okay.
For that.
Hi.
I don't have anything else at the moment.
Okay.
But again, whatever you see on the floor, I can possibly check online for you to order for you.
So again, I'm gonna ask, what do you want me to wear in the gym? How can you want me to go to the gym, but at the same time not want me to have clothes to wear? Sounds a little freaky if you ask me.
From these videos, we can see a few things. One, that retailers do not provide options for people over a certain size, even if they claim to. So the idea that, well, you guys have options is really not true. On top of that, when items are in stock, plus size shoppers are often exiled to the back of the store and left to scrounge through the slim pickings and graphic t-shirts on clearance to find something that may even come close to their individual style. And if you do, I guarantee it almost always costs more. The backlash that Samira faced for expecting stores to not open a plus size section, mind you, but simply have the items that they advertised in stock was both insane and excessive. One response in particular from a TikToker called Takara speaks to this.
And I'm going to keep it cute. The issue at hand is that you feel like stores should practice plus size exclusivity, which I completely agree with. If you advertise that you sell a certain size, you should have it in store for us to try on. I get it. But that's 10% of the problem. 90% of the problem is you. 90% of the problem is that you lack discipline to get down to a smaller size. 90% of the problem is that you don't have to be a 3X. That's a choice. You've been campaigning about this for years. Shit, you even wrote a song about it. And instead of saying, hey, let me get to a healthier version of me, you want to go into Old Navy and H&M and Forever 21 and American Eagle and have a temper tantrum that they don't have a size 3X, instead of focusing on the fact that you don't have to be a size 3X. And I know somebody's going to come on here and say, oh my gosh, she's fat shaming. She's fat phobic. I'm not. I'm fat too. I'm a 1X. I'm a chunky monkey too. But I don't come on social media complaining that the stores don't have my size. Instead, I try not to be that size. So get some discipline in your life and focus on that. And you thought you ate with that little video. You really did. You thought you ate with that little video. You did. You thought you ate. You chewed it up and swallowed it, and it was straight from your chin to your chest because you don't have a neck. And let's focus on the clothes that you do wear. Everything that you wear is too small. You just in the mall with your titties flip-flopping all over the goddamn place. Just a goddamn hot, sweaty, heavy mess.
Her belief was that being over a certain weight means that a moral failing occurred. And because of that, Samira should not have the expectation that these stores had her size. In Takara's opinion, the lack of resources should be motivation for Samira to lose weight. And Takara actually made several videos chastising Samira for daring to even consider the notion that she should be able to buy clothing in her size at the stores that told her that they sold them. And to that, I guess I have to ask, is she supposed to walk around naked in the meantime? Whether or not she needed to lose weight, legally she does have to wear clothes, so she should be able to purchase them at the places that said that they sold them. Or am I crazy? And I think what's sad about Takara's meltdown is that in her first video, she identifies as a plus size woman herself. And she makes it clear that she doesn't remove herself from the vitriol that she's spewing at Samira. To know that she internalized that kind of negativity about herself to the point that she can't even fathom wanting better for someone in a similar situation is devastating. And it's how the cycle continues, though. It can't exist without the impression of self-hate and the people being impacted being broken down by the system. I'm slightly too young to remember anal leakage chips, but I vividly recall Weight Watchers, the South Beach diet, lean cuisine, P90X, red string around the wrist, and does this outfit make my butt look big culture. I was already a teenager by the time embracing your curves was a growing empowerment movement. Prior to that, almond moms went pretty much unchecked and were able to roam the earth as the unchecked apex predators of the body check biosphere. They could comfortably pass down disordered eating habits to their children without so much as a look from anybody else. Whether it was as far back as the ancient Greeks using tummy teas to slim down, or people wearing corsets so tight that the wearers often fainted in pursuit of a 12-inch waistline, the expectation has been for a very long time in Western society that women were constantly doing extreme things with the goal of maintaining their girlish figures. Doctor assisted weight loss treatments are nothing new. We see medical intervention of pursuit of weight loss in most of Western society throughout history. From the 1800s, the thyroid treatment, originally designed for people with thyroid issues, which presented as underproducing the hormone that regulates weight, being used on people that did not have these issues just to shed a few pounds for swimsuit season, to the 1940s, where amphetamines were prescribed because they gave you high amounts of energy and lowered your appetite, which then goes to the skinny pill in the 1980s that did make your brain bleed, but at least your corpse wouldn't have that unsightly double chin. Moving on, in the 90s, we've got metformin, orlistat, and other weight loss injectables that were generally intended for people with diabetes or hormone imbalances, but people that did not have these conditions were using them. So, of course, they caused major side effects. And during this time, we also had the popularization of the lap band and gastric bypass surgeries. And some of that sounds quite similar to today's situation, with the common use of weight loss injectable drugs such as trizepatide and semaglutide. The Ozempic army can put down their pitchforks. I am not against the idea of using medication to aid weight loss if there is genuinely something preventing your body from metabolizing food properly. And for many people, this is the case. Conditions like lipedema, polycystic ovarian syndrome, thyroid issues, and metabolic disease, just to name a few, the same things that everyone else can do to lose weight simply don't work. Using medicine to intervene in the interest of your health is completely reasonable, and I am not one of the people that is against these methods because it's cheating or you have to earn weight loss because it's some indicator of how good of a person you are or whatever. This is not and will never be what this video is about. Anyone with those conditions and trouble using weight, y'all just stay safe and remember to cherish and respect your bodies at every size and not just your goal weight, okay? Mwah, love you. You go grab a snack on your way out, okay, babes? This conversation is specifically for those who are going broke and getting sick to get their hands on these shots for skinniness. The gallbladder issues, the bone mass loss, the severe nausea, and everything else that y'all are going through to manufacture an eating disorder is not okay. Generally, disordered eating is normalized in popular culture. In fact, it's a running trope that teenage girls are just kind of expected to have some form of eating disorder. In just a few pieces of media, as an example, Haley from Modern Family is implied to have an eating disorder on many occasions, and she's thin and lauded as universally beautiful. But on several occasions, it's made clear that she doesn't eat and only pretends to eat. And when we find out that she's pregnant, her husband states that she's eating for one now. And in another episode, while Haley is coping with the loss of her grandmother, she starts binge eating. And it's revealed that she had been starving her brain of nutrients for years, which is why she had been functioning at such a low level for her entire teenage years. Um, Outside of jokes between siblings, there's no serious acknowledgement of this within the show. And it's played for jokes, and it's not the only piece of media to do this at all. The trope of the anorexic popular girl is pervasive in coming of age media. I mentioned almond moms earlier, and for anyone who may not know, an almond mom is a mother who passes down disordered eating and a bad relationship with weight, fitness, and food to their children. The term originates from a Real Housewives clip in which Yolanda Hadid gives advice on how to suppress hunger to her daughter.
I'm feeling really weak. I have a couple almonds. I have a couple of almonds. Chew them really well because your stomach is not. Okay, love you. Okay, I love you too, baby. Be safe.
If you want to see more almond mom content discussed in some lighthearted but appropriate detail, I think Tyler Bender is a great channel to check out. She has some skits about almond mom culture. Almond moms are important because they are the people who keep the system alive. These pressures exist from a very early age because we socialize girls to have negative relationships with their body, to base their self worth on the number on the scale or the measurement of their waist or what visible muscles and bones you can see on their bodies. Their behaviors are sometimes passed down unconsciously. Children may just pick up on their mother's frustrating fussing in the mirror, or notice when she has a salad with no dressing for dinner and only eats half of it, or overhear her comments about needing to go on a diet and lose weight. Those who know about this will get it, but I know my mother's weight on her wedding date and when she was 9 months pregnant with me. And things get more sinister when we see that transfer from self contained body image issues to body checking, teaching starvation techniques, obsessing over weight in your children. And women who don't break down their relationships with their bodies will pass these habits on to their kids. And that's an entire extra generation that now needs to unlearn the default of hating their body for needing to fuel. When you aren't keen to outright starve, the option that many people elect to take is diet food. One would think that that's food full of nutrients and vitamins, the macros that you need, healthy fats to power you through the day. No, they're usually these tiny empty calorie meals used as a means to keep you just above that starvation line. And they may market themselves as high protein or zero net carbs, but there's usually no real nutritional value in these appetite suppressants. And as I mentioned, they taste bad. It's again mostly based on the shape of the food that they're emulating. And outside of a few exceptions, I'm looking at you, Weight Watchers desserts, no notes. Mwah. Most diet food is crammed with fake sugars, protein powders, and alternative flour. And as a person who was in school during the push for healthier lunches during the Obama era when we were fighting childhood obesity, my generation has reached a consensus that the diet food version of the thing that you actually want to eat is significantly worse. Or were you a fan of the unfrosted Pop Tarts and baked Lay's chips? And aside from the fact that in most cases, the difference in calories consumed is not enough to justify choking down a drier, less flavorful, sugar free version of the foods that you actually want to eat, the fact is that the expectations to enjoy this terrible food only extend to the people who others feel need to lose weight. No one is insisting that thinner people need to learn to love those brownies that are secretly made of black beans. And it's again not about health. Many of these foods had insane side effects. The first sugar substitutes that hit the market, cancer. That fat free oil that just made you shit yourself was fine as long as it kept you skinny. And aspartame has negative long term side effects, but in general is inflammatory and can cause headaches, stomach pain, and nausea in many people. And if you don't care about any of this, please consider the fact that fat phobia is an extension of white supremacy. Thinness and whiteness have been historically entangled. Non white people's whiter hips, stronger arms, and thicker thighs were fetishized by white men. And thinness, although once a health concern, became a paragon of whiteness. We see this in the basic racial caricatures of Black women. The Mammy, Sapphire, and Jezebel's respective body types directly tied into the traits that they were designed to convey. Mammy was thick and strong, she was still a kitchen slave, so she's shackled to the stove. She's constantly eating and doting on her captor's family. She had heavy breasts and pot-stirring arms, a round face as black as night, while Sapphire was deep brown, sturdy, curvy, and hypersexual. She was a woman with large hips and breasts, muscular arms and legs, but not in a way that was attractive to her husband. No, she had to chase behind him for mooning over white women who truly had his heart. Jezebel, on the other hand, was biracial or racially ambiguous, still thicker in the hips, thighs, and breasts. Today, what we would call slim thick, enough to be sexualized to the point that the innocent white men that fell prey to her traps and her temptation could hardly be blamed. Look at those sinful ethnic curves. She was adjacent enough to whiteness and thinness that she was an acceptably attractive other. She maintained a microscopic waist, slender limbs, but still had ethnic pouty lips and loosely curled hair. Still outside whiteness, but just enough that she was acceptable to lust after. As you can see, there's a spectrum of white beauty standards being impressed upon specifically Black women. However, other women are subject to these standards as well. If you were on Twitter this week, you saw the Built Mexican discourse. I refuse to get into it outside the fact that the impact of white beauty standards has permeated minority ethnic groups. And because thinness is so intertwined with white supremacy, there are somewhat different standards within these demographics, regionally, racially, and financially. While thinness in specific body types seem to be preferred, we can see some diversity in what is deemed attractive within these smaller ethnic groups. Although the focus is usually only limited to the wideness of hips, butt, and breast, with an expectation of thinness everywhere else. So, in conclusion, contrary to popular belief, not only are fat people actually people, but we are people deserving of respect and compassion. Fat people should have access to resources and the same quality of lives as our smaller counterparts. Fat people should not be othered, and doing it is just an extension of the harmful ideas that white supremacy continues to push. Check your biases and accept that a body is just a body. If you can't love it, at least respect it enough to take care of it. Feed it, move it, don't harm it with unnecessary chemicals and restrictive garments that squish all the important stuff in the inside. Bye.
For the plus sizes, for the plus sizes, they say big bag bitch get to the bag.